It's one of the most haunting and heartbreaking true crime cases in recent American history, the kind that shakes you to your core because it doesn't begin with a stranger or a dark alley or a violent break-in. It begins inside a beautiful home on a quiet suburban street with a smiling family that seemed perfect. A husband, a wife, two beautiful little girls, and a baby on the way. They were the family next door, until one morning, they were gone. This is the horrifying true story of Chris Watts, the man who murdered his pregnant wife Shannon Watts and their two daughters, Bella and Celeste, in cold blood, and the chilling trail of lies, text messages, and home videos that revealed the monster hiding behind his smile. It all began in Frederick, Colorado, in the summer of 2018. The Watts family seemed like the picture of happiness. Shannon was a thriving 34-year-old mother who sold health supplements online. Her Facebook page was filled with videos of her daughters laughing, Chris smiling, family trips, birthday parties, and love. To anyone scrolling by, it looked like the perfect American dream. But behind the camera, things were falling apart. Shannon was pregnant with their third child, a boy they planned to name Nico. She had been struggling to keep their marriage together, suspecting Chris was growing distant. He was quiet, detached, and spent more time at the gym. Friends noticed that Shannon's once bubbly demeanor was fading. Her posts seemed more forced, her smiles more strained. What Shannon didn't know was that Chris had started an affair with a coworker named Nicole Kessinger, a woman he met at Anadarko Petroleum, where he worked as an operator. Nicole believed Chris was separated from his wife. He told her the marriage was over. But it wasn't. Chris was living a double life, one where he played the loving father at home, and another where he was the carefree single man in love with someone new. On August 13, 2018, at around 1:48 a.m., Shannon returned home from a business trip. A friend had dropped her off after their flight landed. Ring camera footage captured her walking up to the front door. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next morning, she missed a doctor's appointment and stopped responding to messages. Concerned, her best friend Nicole Atkinson went to the Watts home. She rang the doorbell, called repeatedly, but no one answered. Shannon's car was still in the garage, with the girls' car seats inside. Something wasn't right. Nicole called the police. When officers arrived, Chris appeared calm, too calm. He said he didn't know where Shannon or the kids were. Maybe she had taken them to a friend's house. But his body language told a different story. He fidgeted, crossed his arms, and spoke in short, clipped sentences. Police began searching the home. Shannon's phone, purse, and keys were all there. Her wedding ring had been left on the nightstand. It didn't make sense. She wouldn't have gone anywhere without her essentials. Body cam footage from that day, now infamous, shows Chris pacing around the living room, talking to officers while his neighbor watches from across the street. The neighbor quietly tells police, something's off. He's not acting right. He never talks this much. He was right. By that evening, the search had gone public. Friends and family flooded social media with pleas for help. The story made national headlines. Pregnant Colorado mom and two daughters missing. Chris appeared on local news, begging for their safe return. If you're out there, just come back, he said. If someone has them, please bring them home. But his eyes told another story. There was no fear, no desperation, just emptiness. The entire nation watched, not knowing they were looking directly into the face of a killer. As the investigation continued, police noticed small cracks forming in Chris's story. He said he and Shannon had a civil conversation before she vanished, but texts from her phone painted a very different picture. In messages to her friends, Shannon confided that Chris had been distant, that he refused to show affection, and that she feared he no longer wanted their baby. In one message she wrote, "I don't know who he is anymore." Detectives asked Chris to take a polygraph test. He agreed. It was a mistake. When the results came back, the examiner looked him in the eye and said, "You did not pass." Faced with mounting evidence, Chris finally cracked, but only partially. He claimed that after he told Shannon he wanted a divorce, she became enraged and strangled their daughters. He said he killed her in a fit of rage. It was a lie, one final act of cruelty, trying to paint Shannon as the villain. But detectives weren't convinced. After hours of questioning, they told him the truth was already coming out. and that the bodies of his family would soon be found. That's when Chris confessed. He admitted that he had strangled Shanann in their bedroom while she was 15 weeks pregnant. Then, he wrapped her body in a sheet and placed it in the back of his truck. He said his daughters were still alive at the time, sitting in the back seat, confused and frightened, asking what was wrong with Mommy. He drove them, along with Shanann's body, to a remote oil site owned by his company, Anadarko Petroleum, a desolate stretch of land surrounded by tanks and dirt roads. There, in the unthinkable silence of early morning, Chris smothered Celeste. Then Bella, his own daughters, before lowering their small bodies into separate oil tanks. He then buried Shanann's body in a shallow grave nearby. It was an act of unimaginable evil, carried out with methodical coldness. 2 days later, investigators found the site based on his confession. Drones spotted disturbed soil and tracks leading to the oil tanks. The recovery teams worked in sweltering heat to retrieve the bodies. What they found shocked even the most seasoned officers. The girls' oil-soaked bodies were carefully removed from the tanks. Shanann was found wrapped in the bedsheet Chris had used. The autopsy revealed she had been strangled to death, and the unborn baby Nico had died alongside her. When the news broke, the world stopped. The smiling family in the Facebook videos, the one everyone admired, had been destroyed by the very person who promised to protect them. The trial was swift. Chris was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, including the death of his unborn son, as well as tampering with a deceased body and unlawful termination of a pregnancy. At first, he pleaded not guilty. But when faced with overwhelming evidence, including GPS data from his truck, phone records, and his mistress's statements, he changed his plea to guilty. During sentencing, the judge described the murders as the most inhumane and vicious crime I've handled in my career. Chris Watts was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He was sent to Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, where he remains to this day. The aftermath of the Watts murders revealed the chilling duality of a man who could appear so normal, so loving, while harboring a capacity for unthinkable violence. Investigators later said that Chris's motive was simple yet monstrous. He wanted a new life with Nicole Kessinger. He saw his wife and children not as people, but as obstacles. Texts between him and Nicole showed that he was fantasizing about a future with her, moving in together, going on vacations, starting fresh. He told her he was free now. She later cooperated with authorities and expressed horror upon learning what he had done. But the truth was that the affair was only one part of it. Chris Watts had been living a lie long before Nicole came along. To the world, he was the perfect husband. In reality, he was hollow, a man capable of smiling for the camera even as his family's lives slipped away behind closed doors. The case gained worldwide attention not only because of the brutality of the murders, but because of the home videos, texts, and police bodycam footage that chronicled the tragedy in real time. On Shanann's Facebook page, she had shared dozens of family moments, birthday parties, vacations, playful videos of the girls calling out "Daddy" when he came home. Watching them now feels like looking into a ghostly time capsule, moments frozen before the storm. Netflix's documentary American Murder, The Family Next Door would later piece together those same digital fragments, showing how every smile, every message, and every video masked a growing nightmare underneath. Perhaps the most chilling part of all is how ordinary it seemed, how easily evil can hide in plain sight. Neighbors said Chris was friendly, polite, always mowing the lawn and waving hello. No one suspected that the man next door was capable of murdering his entire family with his bare hands. In the end, it wasn't just a crime of passion, it was a calculated erasure. A man trying to delete his old life, one life at a time. The Watts murders shattered the illusion of suburban perfection. They revealed how social media can mask real pain, how pictures can lie, and how the monsters we fear most sometimes sleep in the room next to us. Today, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico are remembered not for how they died, and for how they lived. A mother's love, 2 little girls' laughter, a family that once dreamed of forever. Their names are carved into a memorial bench in Colorado, a reminder that even in the darkest stories, light survives through memory. As for Chris Watts, he spends every day in a cell, haunted by what he can never undo: the weight of silence, the ghosts of the family he destroyed, and the haunting truth that the man everyone thought they knew was a killer all along.